Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And as you might be able to tell, my voice is just a tad stronger this morning than it was even yesterday morning. I'm kind of slowly digging out from under that strep throat craziness. It's so good to be feeling good again. And anyway, thank you again, so many of you, for sending me so many kind notes. Okay, got to get right into it. We are continuing our study of the absent master motif. Remember, we are told that the Olivet Discourse is divided into two subjects: a discussion of the fall of Jerusalem that occurred in AD 70, and then a discussion of the so-called end of time. Now, I've shared with you before that any proposed discussion of the end of time is interjected into the text. It's not stated, it's not inferred. But commentators with a presuppositional theology that says, oh, well, the disciples asked about the end of the age and Christ's coming. Well, everyone knows Christ hasn't come yet because, after all, he hasn't come out of heaven as a 5'5" Jewish man at the end of time. Everybody knows that, right? No, everybody doesn't know that, and a growing number of people recognize that is not the biblical truth of the coming of the Lord. So, we are told, nonetheless, that in the Olivet Discourse, we have a divided discourse. Matthew chapter 24, 4 to 34 or 35, depending on which commentator you read, was discussing Jesus' coming in AD 70 at the fall of Jerusalem. It's admitted, listen to me, amillennialists and postmillennialists alike admit and agree, and they teach. Christ came on the clouds with power and great glory, with the angels, with the sound of a trumpet, in flaming fire, in AD 70. And those same commentators turn right around and say, oh, but we're waiting for Christ to come on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, with the angels, with the shout, with the trumpet, etc. Coming the Lord on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, shout, trumpet, etc. AD 70, coming the Lord, power and great glory, clouds of heaven, trumpet, shout, etc. Supposed end of time. Folks, I'm sorry. That doesn't make sense. And again, it's not biblical. So, we're looking at this absent master motif. So here we are. We're told the Olivet Discourse is divided. We're told that Matthew chapter 25, 14 and following, when it speaks about a nobleman who went into a far country to do business and then to return after a long time. Well, we are told that far country, is the same as the far country that Jesus went to in Acts chapter 1. Fine, I agree with that. And then we are told, well, it says he would return after a long time. Fine, I agree with that. What I disagree with is the insertion of 2,000 years into that term after a long time. So we've been examining Jesus' comment, but of that day and hour knows no man, no, not the angels, nor the Son, but the Father only, in Mark chapter 13, 32. And I've been sharing with you how Jesus said he was going away, but when he went away, the Father would send the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit would send, the Father would send the Spirit, inspire the apostles. Now remember, the apostles did not know the day and the hour, just like Jesus when he spoke those words in Mark 13:32. However, the Father, who knew the day and the hour, inspired the apostles to know what? About judgment to come, all truth, and about things to come. John chapter 16, 6 and following. And in the New Testament epistles, written by the apostles who received the Holy Spirit sent by the Father, who knew the day and the hour, that Holy Spirit to reveal all truth, to reveal judgment to come, to reveal things to come, those apostles said these things must shortly take place. Okay, we've been focused on Revelation chapter 1, 1 to 3. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God, that's the Father who knew the day and the hour, which God gave to him to show to his servants things which must shortly come to pass. Folks, I cannot overemphasize this. I can't emphasize this enough. This is the Father who knew the day and the hour telling Jesus, go tell John to tell the churches these things. What things? You're coming. The parousia, the judgment, the destruction of Babylon, the resurrection, etc. These things must shortly come to pass. Well, then, as I pointed out, we are told, well, yeah, but, shortly come to pass. That doesn't mean it will come to pass soon. It doesn't mean it's imminent and about to take place. It just means, and commentator after commentator tries to make this argument, when the Lord finally gets around to coming, after a long time, and they insert 2,000 years into that terminology, when he finally gets around to coming, it's going to take place rapidly, with speed. We don't know when it will be, but it will take place rapidly. When you go to a gas pump, at least here in Ardmore, you insert your credit card. And a little signal comes up and it says, remove card rapidly. Now, they're talking about the kind of action. But you know what? Even involved in that statement, they don't mean, just leave your card inserted. Come back in a few years. And when you get back, go, whoa! That's not what it means, is it? They mean take your card out now and move it rapidly. So even that argument fails to negate the imminence of the text. So I have been pointing out to you that this term, these things will shortly take place, is from the Greek term en taxei. It's only used a limited number of times in the New Testament. We've examined Luke chapter 18. Now here's, I didn't take the time yesterday to conclude properly, and so let me make this comment. Luke chapter 18 is in a context of the avenging of the martyrs, and Luke 18:8 says, will the Lord not avenge his servants who cry out to him day and night? That's his servants, his martyrs, and he says, yes, he will avenge them speedily. So here is Jesus making the promise that his apostles, that's who he's talking to, his apostles will be avenged in their martyrdom en taxei. Matthew chapter 23, as I did point out, tells us that all of the blood of all the martyrs, including Jesus' apostles, would be avenged in the first century generation. Now, here's the key to this that I didn't, drive home yesterday. Revelation is about the avenging of the blood of the martyrs. And the Father, who knew the day and the hour of the coming of the Lord for the avenging of the martyrs, said, these things must shortly come to pass. So here is Jesus, Matthew 23, all of the blood of all the martyrs, including the apostles, avenged in that generation. Luke chapter 18, the blood of the martyrs, including Jesus' apostles, would be avenged en taxei, shortly. And we have Revelation, the avenging of the blood of the martyrs, en taxei, shortly. Sorry, folks, there's no way in this world to honor the linguistics and to honor the text and to honor the context and to say, well, yeah, it's the promise of the avenging the martyrs, but that hasn't been done, and it won't be done until the end of time in a gazillion years. Well, once again, that doesn't work. So let's look at the second occurrence of that term, en taxei. This second occurrence is found in Acts chapter 12. In Acts chapter 12, Herod has killed James, the brother of John. And he saw that it pleased the Jews, so he decided to continue. And he reached out and he apprehended Peter. Don't know where John was, but he apprehended Peter, threw him in jail. And he had two soldiers chained to him, one on this side, one on that side, and threw him in prison. Had two soldiers standing outside the door. They were asleep during the night, and all of a sudden an angel appeared in the jail cell. Can you imagine what those soldiers thought? Pardon me. The angel struck the chains and said to Peter, Acts chapter 12, verse 7, "Arise up quickly, Peter, and get out." There was an earthquake, by the way. Door of the prison was open. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Are we supposed to believe that the angel was saying to Peter, now look, Peter, you got plenty of time. Don't worry about when you get up. But, you know, your chains are broken. And believe me, the soldiers are not going to do anything about it. So, Peter, dude, take your time about when you leave. But I'm telling you right now, when you decide to finally leave this cell, I want you to act like an Olympic sprinter, and I want you to get out of here as rapidly, not soon, don't worry about soon, but I want you to leave as rapidly, when you finally get around to it, as you can possibly run. I'm sorry, folks. You know that's specious. You know that's frivolous. You know that's illogical. You know it's not textual or contextual. And so here we have another use of en taxei. And en taxei is used of actions. Actions. The avenging of the martyrs. Leaving the prison. Just as in Luke chapter 18, en taxei is qualified and restricted and delimited to that generation, soon, shortly to come to pass. The leaving of the prison on the part of Peter is likewise an imminent event. Now, as I told you as we first began studying en taxei, I'm not denying rapidity of action is an element of en taxei. I am absolutely not excluding that. I am saying that imminence of action is coupled with rapidity of action. And that simply cannot be denied. And what that means is, when we come to the parable of the absent master and his return in the book of Revelation, and as we shall see in other texts as well, when we come to these texts that promised the coming of the Lord was at hand, coming soon, coming shortly, it is an abuse of linguistics, it is abuse of hermeneutic, it is an abuse of exegesis to say, well, yeah, it just means rapidly, it doesn't mean soon. That's what I call an argumentum ad desperatum. That's the non-Latin Latin term that I coined years ago, and it means an argument for desperation. And that's precisely what any and all attempts to negate the power of en taxei truly are. And when we admit the power, the force, and the meaning of en taxei, it means that the return of the absent master in Matthew 25:14 and following was to occur in the first century, and John was being told it was shortly to come to pass when he wrote Revelation 2,000 years ago.